Hi there, I'm Zoot Java. Today I'd like to talk about the inauguration of Joe Biden, mainly because of the mainstream media, through its obvious bias against Donald Trump and all the hate and vitriol that they've been spreading about him for the past 4 years. Strange as it may seem, it is anger that they decided to use as a driving force in order for them to get their clicks. They pushed it just a little too far and have killed the goose that laid the golden eggs for them for the past 4 years by driving constant lies and blame upon Trump for things which he either wasn't guilty of or had no control over. The legacy media, along with controlling grip of social media such as Facebook and Twitter, silenced any honest reporting of Trump or anyone whose views were center to right-leaning. While Trump easily brought in anywhere from 5 to 15,000 people at his rallies, Joe Biden struggled to get from under 100 to maybe 300 on a good day. As a result, they were concerned that, let's say that the inauguration wasn't going to have as many of the public as you'd find at a high school dance, with the coronavirus being the good old standby to excuse anything that goes wrong. They were again concerned that a minuscule amount of people were going to show up for this event. Then, out of the sky, a gift was handed to the DP. How fitting a descriptive set of initials is that? On a silver platter, a handful of complete idiots took it upon themselves to do one of the stupidest things imaginable. This tiny group with equally tiny brains thought it would be a bright idea to attack the Capitol. As I mentioned before, I find it hard to believe that in the most heavily armed civilian population on this planet, that not one of these morons thought to bring a gun with them if they really decided that they were going to have an insurrection. I think they really wanted to simply shock the officials and throw a scare into them. But that's just my opinion. I certainly don't condone this ridiculous behavior. I'm just trying to figure it out. However, with this act of terror, as it has been labeled, this gave the Dems the perfect excuse to clog up the D.C. area with 25,000 troops under the auspices of a massive attack of Trump supporters, thus not having to worry about an abysmal lack of supporters for Biden and Harris. Oddly enough, Lady Gaga sang the Star-Spangled Banner. I say this because it must have been Joe Biden who decided on that, as I'm sure that Kamala Harris wanted to get Tupac perform it. See what I did there? Biden's speech was the usual pile of presidential glorp that everybody has become used to. He oddly stated that he wanted everyone to come together and unite the country whether they voted for him or not because they're all Americans. Well, the president had better go and speak to his underlings in the Senate and Congress and give them a bit of a finger wag whilst cussing them out. The reason, you may ask? Well, many of them have called for the silencing of Trump supporters, to put them on a list, to catalog any posts that they may have put up on Twitter, Facebook, or any other form of social media in order that they may use said posts against these people. To use any and all power to not just silence them, but to cancel them. What does that mean? Well, basically it means to take away their freedoms, such as their right to free speech, their right to earn a living without being badgered out of employment using bully tactics, their right to free expression. Talk of actually placing some in re-education camps, basically to follow the example of China, where you can have no free speech without punishment. Earning a living can be levied with social credit scores, which are basically happening with all that you do and where you go, being monitored by big tech. Then re-education camps, such as the Uyghurs are subjected to in China. Don't kid yourself either. When any country subjects any of their population to these horrific ideas, anything is on the table. It will be justified by being in the best interest of everyone, from the general public to the social outcasts themselves, if you will. I was also wondering if Joe Biden's speech droned on and he decided to bring up that favorite divisive topic of systemic racism, if he would tell everyone that he gave a eulogy at Robert Byrd's funeral, whom he called a mentor. Byrd was a former exalted cyclops of the Ku Klux Klan. While people will excuse him for this role because he left the Klan, this is apparently not allowed, as you need only to follow the unwritten rules of the leftist Democrats, in which anything at all done in your past can and will be held against you forever. Whether or not you attempt to right the wrong, it makes no difference whatsoever. As far as a divisive population, well, until the awful riot occurred at the Capitol, virtually every Trump rally has been truly peaceful as a picnic, with them being compared to friendly patriotic gatherings. The unruly mobs which terrorized their way all across the United States in the name of Black Lives Matter and Antifa caused untold amounts of damage in the billions of dollars. They murdered upwards of, let's say, 30 people, I think, looting and burning buildings, attacking people by ganging up on them and beating them for the egregious crime of things such as wearing a MAGA hat. A police station had the entrances and exits blocked off to trap everyone inside and attempted to set it on fire. A Black Lives Matter protection racket threatening businesses to agree to their terms of operation. Politicians such as Kamala Harris herself organizing fundraising to bail out criminals who were charged with violent acts, which can only be interpreted as an incitement to violence by sending the message that people who are looting, burning buildings down, violently attacking others will be free to go, as the district attorney simply refused to prosecute them either. And with Biden winding down his speech about how everybody is an American and what they can do for the country, it's a little ironic, as the mobs that he and his vice president defended actually hate America and are constantly seen burning the American flag and attacking people who have or fly them, or speak out against everything that is American. So this is a rather ironic pair that came to power. It was obvious that nobody wanted to have them elected. They simply hated Donald Trump. They basically just held their noses with one hand and cast their ballots with the other. And as for all this criticism they were making of Donald Trump about this super spreader events, it's kind of funny how he had all those people attend his event as guests, and they were crammed together, and yeah, well, they had masks on, but they weren't physically distanced by the 6 feet, which apparently is the big thing that you are supposed to do. And afterwards they were all hugging each other and running up and down and just being right on top of each other. If that's not super spreading, I don't know what is. However, now for the part that you've all been waiting for, my bad joke. So, what did the cannibal do after he dumped his significant other? Well, he wiped his butt. Anyways, don't forget to like and subscribe, as it really helps me out, and even better, it annoys the usual suspects. Share my content on all your social media because I get censored by the usual suspects. Click the bell for more of my words of wisdom. Because of the massive purging on the platforms, click the subscribe buttons for not just myself, but every content creator that you like, as this helps to screw up the algorithms against the platform. And that is worth the price of admission right there. Until later, have a Java on Zoot.